Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks! What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review / knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Sencut and Ferrum Forge Kyril, or that's at least how I'm going to pronounce it. I'll let you guys figure that out for yourself. Thanks so much to Sencut / Civivi / we for sending this in for me to take a look at. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me, and please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. This is absolutely available right now, and it is not very expensive. I will link it right down below so you guys can check it out if you want. It does help my channel and use my links, but that's entirely up to you. Let's go ahead and get a measurement of this knife. Not a huge knife, 7 1/4 inches overall. Blade length is 3 1/4. Cutting edge is about 2.8. Yeah, about 2.8. How about some size comparisons up against the Ontario Rat Model 1 and the Ontario Rat Model 2? Still going a little slow because this thumb it's recovering, but it's like I lost like nerve or sensitivity in it, and it kind of hurts if I push on it. Anyways, I'm making an excuse. It's hard for me to engage and disengage a lock or a thumb stud with my thumb. It's about the same size as the Ontario Rat Model 2, maybe a little bit longer. Cutting edge is almost exactly the same as the Rat 2, just a little bit more handle room there. Just a couple more. Let's put it up against the Demco AD 20.5. There we go. How about up against the Spyderco Para 3? All right, about the same as the Spyderco Para 3. And then finally, let's do the Benchmade Bug Out. All right, how's the action on this guy? It's about exactly what you'd expect. Sencut knives are made in China, and they are extremely similar to Civivi knives because they are the same company. It disengages pretty easily. It flips pretty easily. I mean, this is about the same as any other, pretty well-made knife in this exact same, quality tier in terms of like manufacturing, fit and finish, materials, all that stuff. It's about in the same zone. The disengagement of the lock is pretty easy. There's access to it because it is cut a little bit higher than the show side scale and liner, so that's nice. Honestly, it feels pretty organic. I mean, if you've been handling pretty much any flipper running on bearings here lately that has a properly tuned detent, this is going to feel about the same. It's about what I expect. Length and height up against the Spyderco PM2 and the Spyderco Para 3. This guy's going to be pretty easy on the pocket. Not super long and not super tall. In fact, it'll almost fit within the Spyderco Para 3, so no issues there. Thickness up against the Spyderco Para 3. You can see here this guy is just a little bit thinner, which is nice. No issues there. Let's go ahead and do blade stock thickness. There's my calipers. I'm going to guess, like most Sencuts, this is about 115 thousandths or so, maybe 110. It's going to come in at 150, yeah, 115 thousandths, so that's good. For the size of knife and geometry of the blade. Weight, what are we looking at for materials? We are looking at, in this case, we have some micarta, we have steel liners, and we have 9CR 18 MOV. When I looked at that, I couldn't remember if I saw that they had used something else. Sometimes you see a something CR, something MOV, and it's really, really small, and you miss it, right? So if I called that incorrectly in the unboxing, I'm sorry. But 9CR 18 MOV is a pretty good composition. It's still an ingot form steel. Good stuff, pretty well balanced, decent edge retention for this tier. Obviously, it's not going to be like M390 or anything like that. It is stainless, reasonably tough, and very easy to sharpen and touch up. So that's good. Definitely better than your 8CR 13 MOV, the 7CRs, stuff like that. Totally acceptable at this price point. Weight is coming in at 2.93 ounces, which means the ratios on this knife are very, very good. We have 3.25 inches of blade for about 3 ounces of weight. The knife is also balanced about right in the middle of that primary choil there, so it feels pretty light in hand as well. It's really not going to be, super cumbersome in the pocket or anything like that. I think that essentially goes without saying, right? I would not have guessed right away that this was a Ferrum Forge knife. I mean, their knives do have a pretty, sort of generic knife profile, but there's still something distinctive about it, right? If you look at like the Malice, for example, or I'm trying to think some of the other ones, but they've all had like a really, really similar, they all have this primary choil combined with the forward choil element, but they're a little bit taller. So the fact that this was thinner and looks a little bit more like, I don't know, the Benchmade 940 Not exactly. It just kind of threw me off a little bit. It was interesting. Usually I can call out those Ferrum Forge designs, but I didn't get this one right away. So this is neither here nor there. Let's go ahead and do a hardware check. I'll get out my tools as per usual. My tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the section of my description that talks about the tools I use on this channel. The pivot is going to be a T8. Then we have T6 screws here, and then we have a couple more screws holding in the back spacer. So not T8, and you've got a few extra screws versus what I consider to be minimal hardware, but it still should be very easy to take apart. So no issue there. Let's see here. Did we do everything? I think we did. I think we can move on into the meat and potatoes here. This is a pretty straightforward, I mean, this is a really kind of vanilla design, right? But that doesn't mean that it's bad. There are lots and lots and lots of vanilla designs out there, and for people looking for something specific, the nice thing about that is you can, just all these different companies making knives in this territory and making slight variations of models that have done really well in the past. The nice thing is we are essentially at a point where if you are looking for something extremely particular, under $50, which this knife absolutely is. I don't know why I'm stuttering today, sorry. You can find it, like down to almost the very last detail. If you look, looking through Civivi, Sencut, Kubi, the Petrified Fish, Vostede, QSP, Bestek. I'm trying to think. I mean, there's so many brands, right? They make so many good designs that are very, very straightforward, very classic knife and blade profiles, right? Or handle and blade profiles, but just have slight variations between each model. You can pretty much find whatever you want. So that means that, there's somebody out there where this is legitimately the perfect knife for them. And there would be nothing wrong with coming to that conclusion because this knife has all of those elements that you'd want or that person might want, right? That anybody might want in a basic folding knife. Does that make sense, what I'm saying? It is otherwise, on the flip side of that, that's what I can say that's nice about it, is that this might be the perfect knife for somebody. You could technically say that about any knife. Outside of that, it is incredibly boring. It is just a flat, simple scale. We have generic handle profile lines, which work, right? Choking up, it actually feels pretty good. This is a fairly roomy choil, which is really nice. The flipper tab is low profile and a little bit pointy, but it's not insanely obtrusive. Like doesn't feel like it's really getting too much in the way. If your hands or your fingers are really thick, you might not like this as much. If your hands are smaller than mine, you'll like this even more. The jimping extends out to a nice, meaningful area of the spine, which means you can make use of it in combination with the forward choil. The other thing I like about it, knives like this, is you can use the middle finger to brace in that choil area and put your index finger up here down on what I call the nose of the blade to do your draw cuts. And this blade is ideal for day-to-day. I mean, this is the type of blade that I like the most for EDC. I use my Demco 80-20.5 almost more than any other knife in my collection. It's because of that exactly right there, being able to get my index finger. I do more cuts like that than anything else, and this knife will do that very, very well. And the 9CR18 MOV is accentuated nicely with the geometry of this blade. There's not much more to say about the blade. There's a flat that carries out about 70% the length of the blade, and the geometry behind the cutting edge is nice and thin. This will slice, cut, and even puncture pretty well. No issues there. It says Sencut on the front, Ferrum Forge on the back, 9CR18 MOV right there on the flat. Let's see here. We have slightly shadow box scales. You can get this in different colors. It doesn't have to be black on black. They've also got jade, and I think at least one other, color scheme. You can also get it in a satin finish blade, which is what I would go for, because the Rockwell hardness tends to be a little bit higher, which is going to be a little bit better in this case. So yeah. The micarta looks good. Nothing special going on there. There's a pocket clip mounting position for left-handed people. So as you can see here, as a right-handed person, this is very, very easy to manipulate with my left hand. It shouldn't be difficult for you either. I wouldn't shy away from it. It's nice that we have a backspacer here. That's pretty cool. The lanyard hole is there. It doesn't need to be. They should have put it where they always put it, which is in the backspacer. It's not necessarily doing anything wrong, though. I mean, the pocket clip still carries it plenty deep, and it's kind of in the way, but then again, it's not really. We still have this Civivi goosebill clip, which drives me nuts and will absolutely grab on to anything that you walk too closely to and will bend your clip out, which kind of sucks. I really wish they'd shave that down a bit, but okay. In and out of the pocket, pretty easy. The micarta, a little bit of excess traction, but it's not textured, so it's not going to tear up your pants too readily. Lockout. There's a stop pin right here. We've got a little bit of shouldering on the blade tang, no blade play up, down, left to right, easy disengagement, no lock stick, no pivot lash, consistent action in here, and nice detent with, it might be ever so slightly off center from me flipping it, but that's easily correctable. This is about as straightforward as it gets. I have reviewed a lot of knives that are like this, and I continue to do it because I want people to be able to find budget options on this channel. Sometimes budget knives really shine, and they're really something amazing, considering their competition. It's everything, all encompassing, what they're made out of, how they're made, right? Ergonomic lines, ease of manipulation, balance, weight, edge geometry, heat treat, blah, 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 and of course, price point. Some knives shine exceptionally with all of these elements considered, and some knives don't. Sometimes knives are, in fact, more often than not, they're just kind of right on the money. If it was 2013, 14, 15, 16, this knife might have been like, wow, holy crap. But as it is today, there's just a million of these. And ironically, Sencut and Civivi make about 200,000 of them. Not actually, but they make a lot of them, right? Within Civivi and Sencut's line, and this is one of the better things about this company, is if you don't like this one, or if you feel like I'd like it if it was just slightly different, more than likely, between Sencut and Civivi, you will find exactly what you're looking for. Basically, this is just tweaked a little bit, right? Some other obscure model within their line. This is a $42 knife, and I think that's fair. I was really hoping that this thing would come in really inexpensive. My hopes initially for Sencut is that they were going to be like an ultra budget brand and have knives in like the $30 territory, right? But it just seems like Civivi bumped everything up, and then Sencut became the new Civivi. This is fine at $42. It's not amazing. It's not bad. It's fine. If you like how this looks, you like Ferrum Forged knives, you just want something basic and you don't want to spend a whole bunch of time hunting around for a good knife, right? And comparing and contrasting all the different options, because believe me, you could spend the better part of a year doing that. This is fine. As it sits, this is a cheap knife that I like. It's not a knife that makes me think you should go above and, just like out of your way. You should be ignoring other budget knives to go after this thing. It's a knife that's fine. It's good. If you pick it up, you're going to be happy with it. It's going to feel like a $42 knife, right? It's not something that's going to win any awards or anything like that. It's kind of silly, right? But not something that I'm going to hold up on top of a mountain and shout the name, right? I'm not going to, worship it or say that anybody else should be worshiping it or anything like that. It's just fine. It's good, right? Generically good. That's about all I can say about it. Thanks again to Civivi/Sencut/We for sending this in. This will undoubtedly get given away on one of my live events. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like. So check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.